We begin with breaking news. Less than 24 hours after an exclusive CTV News investigation, another dramatic resignation in the Ontario Greenbelt scandal. Kaleed Rasheed gone from both cabinet and the PC caucus. Good evening. It's a story you saw first right here, contradicting accounts of a trip to Las Vegas that was investigated by the Integrity Commissioner.
Rasheed is now the second minister to step down in this land swap controversy, pressuring the Ford government. CTV's John Woodward's the reporter who broke the news last night. John, the response has been swift.
Nathan, we did the story yesterday about what happened in Vegas. Today, Minister Rasheed is now just an MPP. We learned Kaleed Rasheed did tell the Integrity Commissioner about the trip. He just didn't mention the massages.
Just take seconds and...
Kaleed Rasheed was Ontario's Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery until late Wednesday and an ill-fated trip to Las Vegas. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford said in a statement, Premier Ford and MPP Kaleed Rasheed have agreed that Mr. Rasheed would resign from Cabinet and the Ontario PC caucus effective immediately. The news in the wake of a CTV News report about that trip involving Rasheed, former aide to the Premier Amin Massoudi, and developer Shakir Rahmatullah. 3 Wynn Las Vegas hotel employees told CTV News the 3 went for massages at the same time. That's very different from Rasheed's account to Integrity Commissioner J. David Wake that it was a chance meeting in the hotel lobby 2 months before.
People are having a hard time getting their story straight.
Wake found he couldn't say who tipped Rahmatullah off to apply early to get his land out of the Greenbelt, making it more valuable, but I find it is more likely than not that someone did. It's not clear from the Premier's statement what Rasheed's role may have been. He said in a statement he had resigned to avoid distraction from caucus, and I look forward to taking the steps required to clear my name with the Integrity Commissioner so that I can return to the Ontario PC team as soon as possible.
I didn't think this scandal would lead to massages in Las Vegas.
Opposition parties say there have been resignations, including that of former Housing Minister Steve Clark, but no answers.
This is exactly why we need an independent public inquiry, because there are more questions being raised than answers being given.
As what happened in Vegas doesn't seem to have stayed there. John Woodward, CTV News.
And John, this is the second minister and third resignation tied to this scandal. Are we any closer to getting a better sense of how some Greenbelt developers seemingly knew more than anyone else about the government's plans?
Nathan, we have seen those 2 scathing reports that describe the flawed and biased process that led to the Greenbelt lands being removed. But we don't know exactly how it was taken advantage of. For example, who was the likely tipster? And also, this land remains in the Greenbelt. So it's fair to say this story may yet have many more twists and turns. Reporting live, I'm John Woodward. Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, John. And CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us now. Siobhan, something like this is bound to generate a whole lot of reaction and speculation.
That's right, Michelle. We know that opposition parties say they're outraged. The NDP leader says it's evidence of a government spinning out of control. There are renewed calls for the government and the Premier in particular to be more transparent about what ties he may have to developers. Over the last month or so, there's been a new development on this Greenbelt scandal basically every week, and they tend to land on Wednesday for whatever reason. Of course, we had the reports from the Auditor General, the Integrity Commissioner, the sudden resignation of the former Chief of Staff to the Housing Minister. Then that Housing Minister stepped aside. Then we learned the government would be doing a wholesale review of the Greenbelt, so it just keeps rolling. This development, though, might be different. We know that the NDP leader is talking about going back to the Integrity Commissioner with a possible complaint or maybe alerting police.
If the member lied or misled the Integrity Commission, if he perjured himself, that's a very serious matter. 2 ministers in a couple of weeks stepping down has got to be pretty unprecedented in the province of Ontario. And we keep seeing this government, again, lurch from scandal to scandal.
Leaving caucus, it just indicates to me that there's something more that we don't know. What happened today should raise concern and alarm amongst all of us, but it also begs more questions.
Now, the Premier will take questions on this, I'm sure, flanked by his cabinet that's now without that one minister. We could hear an announcement about a replacement. They're in Niagara Falls for a caucus retreat. We'll hear from the Premier tomorrow afternoon. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And you can continue to track every development with this story on our website. Visit ctvnewstoronto.ca for complete coverage. And remember to download the CTV News app.
Straight ahead, dueling demonstrations in the downtown core. Protesters facing off near Queen's Park in a battle over gender inclusivity in schools. The rallies here in Toronto and across the country.
But first, we want to get to some more developing news at this hour and a situation snarling the drive for thousands.
A wild chain of events on Canada's busiest highway. If someone you know is running late tonight, we can tell you why. CTV's John Musselman is live near the 401 and Nielsen in Scarborough. John.
Well, Nathan, as you can see behind me, the westbound collector lanes of the 401 are closed just before Morningside. They're diverting traffic off the highway onto some of the secondary roads. Now, this is because of a police chase mid-afternoon today. We're told by officers with 43 Division that there was a driver in some kind of distress. There was a pursuit. It started not far from Markham Road, but it ended up on the 401, and that's when the driver clipped another car and then went down an embankment, and that car ended up in the back of an industrial building where this chase came to an end. But obviously the police had to shut down the highway, the collector lanes at least, as this investigation continues, and they're telling us it will remain closed for a number of hours. So again, if you're driving in this area, you'll have to bypass the area of Nielsen and Morningside and use secondary roads to get it while this investigation goes on. Reporting live at the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, John. Also tonight, a place of worship targeted by thieves breaking into a Buddhist temple in Mississauga. What they stole, the damage they left behind, and why these kinds of locations are particularly vulnerable.
Turning to the weather next, a live look outside from our CTV News chopper. It is Wednesday evening. It is lovely out there. We've had a lot of sunshine, clear and comfortable right across southern Ontario. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay, yes, the nights are getting cooler, but we have a lot more of this beautiful daytime weather to come.
Yes, at the risk of sounding like a bit of a broken record here, Michelle, we had a beautiful day today, and we've got another nice one in store for tomorrow. It is still 24 degrees in Windsor. We are at a very comfortable 19 here in Toronto. Winds coming out of the south right now, very light in nature. It's just been a lovely breeze out there today. Worth mentioning a little bit of cloud cover across southwestern Ontario, a few showers around London and St. Thomas, but it's blue skies for us here in the GTA. And as we make our way through the evening hours tonight, mainly clear. The temperature remains in the teens for those evening hours, but tonight some communities again are going to drop close to freezing, and that's where we have a frost advisory in place. Doesn't include us here in Toronto. We're going to take you through the weekend weather forecast coming up. For now, Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Confrontations over gender identity, sexual orientation, and our schools. Protests and counter-protests squaring off outside Queen's Park.
The subjects generating no shortage of emotion. CTV's Allison Hurst is live with more. Allison.
This park was filled with scores of protesters. 2 different protests marched here with very different perspectives. Dueling protests square off on the north lawn of Queen's Park as tensions flare when the 2 groups come face to face. One side is arguing for the elimination of sexual orientation and gender identity curriculums in school.
We just want to protect our kids. They should be allowed to grow up without feeling like ideology is forced on them from a young age.
My 5-year-old granddaughter talks about masturbation. They teach them about sexuality. I don't think a 5-year-old and 6-year-olds should learn this kind of stuff.
Protect trans kids! The other side, which was planned as a counter-protest, marched to the park to stand up for the LGBTQ2S+ community.
What they say, it's protection for the parents' rights, and it's cloaked hatred.
Kids are not property so that one can impose their will upon any child.
Toronto police formed lines separating the 2 sides and removed demonstrators when officers say they crossed their line after being told not to. In the morning, it was those protesting the curriculum who were standing at the statue.
Honestly, I'm starting to get sick of the whole LGBTQ cult thing. The rainbow flag is what's making me sick, not the actual people. They're confused. I feel bad for them. It's just everything else. I'm just disgusted by it.
But by afternoon, the counter-protest had made its way onto the risers, taking over the spot.
Every student should have the right, they do have the right, and that's what we're here to protect, to be able to attend school free of fear, free of violence. And that's what we're ensuring we're protecting by having those conversations in schools.
The protests against the school curriculum were planned in at least 80 cities across the country. Toronto police confirmed that there was one arrest. 47-year-old Julia Stevenson is facing a charge of possession of a weapon and a charge of carrying a weapon while attending a public meeting. Police did not confirm what the weapon was. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Trans kids! Protect trans kids! Protect trans kids! Protect trans kids!
Thanks, Allison. Crowds of demonstrators faced off in Peterborough today as similar protests and counter-protests took place in other Ontario cities. This was the scene in Kitchener this morning as opposing sides gathered in Carl Zare Square. In Ottawa, groups gathered outside Parliament Hill and the Supreme Court of Canada. Mayor Mark Sutcliffe said the protests against the school curriculum will only cause harm to youth who are looking for our support and acceptance.
We are here! We are queer!
Protesters on both sides of the issue took to the streets in cities across the country today. Competing rallies were held outside Halifax City Hall before moving to the provincial legislature. In Moncton, about 100 people gathered at a park. New Brunswick is one of the provinces where parental consent is needed before teachers can use students' preferred first names and pronouns.
And emotions ran high in Montreal today, where simultaneous rallies were held outside the local office of the Premier. There were angry exchanges between protesters and counter-protesters amid a sizable police presence.
People for and against gender and sexual diversity education also rallied in Edmonton. The coordinator of 1 Million March for Children there said the group wants healthy boundaries in schools. A counter-protest group in the Alberta capital says inclusive policies in schools are helping more children feel safe and accepted.
Understand what you are talking about.
And there were dueling protests in downtown Vancouver as well. The mayor, BC's premier, and the province's human rights commissioner have all denounced the 1 Million March for Children demonstration. The group says it's opposed to what it calls gender ideology in the nation's schools.
Coming up, the new twist in a tense diplomatic situation involving Canada and India. A travel advisory now issued and the people caught in the middle. Turning to transit now and how the TTC plans to boost security and restore customer confidence in the system.
It involves a lot more staff acting as eyes and ears on the ground. CTV's Natalie Johnson is at TTC headquarters tonight with more on this. Natalie.
That's right, Michelle. This is a $10 million proposal to increase the visibility of transit staff in the system. It is designed to detect and deter crime and also help those who are seeking shelter.
Boarding the bus this morning, many TTC riders say they are still wary of safety in the system.
In the night time, I don't feel that safe.
Times have changed.
We always hear that something keeps happening on the station, so maybe they could do something about that.
And indeed, the TTC says rider satisfaction with personal safety is still down, with barely half of riders reporting feeling safe in the system.
TTC riders, we want you back. We don't want you to feel anxious.
And so the action plan, 178 new frontline staff to increase eyes and ears on the ground, including 130 new customer service agents, 30 new field supervisors, and 6 new transit control center dispatchers dedicated to safety communications.
So what we want to do is to give the people that take the TTC a lot more comfort, right? The sense of security, the sense of someone's there to report or give them information.
Meanwhile, they're looking ahead to the colder season to come. The chief safety officer's report reading, quote, "The TTC is anticipating an increase in the use of the transit network for sheltering in the coming winter months due to weather changes and the limited availability of housing and shelter beds in the city of Toronto."
The transit system should get you to your destination. The transit system should not be your destination when it comes to housing.
The TTC's plan is to create special transport and temporary shelter buses to help those in need get out of the cold and into proper shelters.
We can't not do this. That's the proper grammar, right? We have to do this now to make sure our customers are feeling comfortable for this winter.
The TTC will also maintain crisis workers in the system who can help those in distress and extend the contracts of its 50 security guards. It will continue to onboard 50 new special constables in addition to the Toronto police patrols during peak times.
So where is the money coming from? Well, the Eglinton and Finch LRTs are late in opening, and so the city is saving on operating costs there. The TTC would redirect that money to this new safety plan if the board signs off next week. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
All right, thank you, Natalie. More fallout in the growing rift between Ottawa and New Delhi following accusations of government involvement in the killing of a Sikh activist in Vancouver.
India issuing a warning to its citizens and international students traveling to Canada. CTV's Kevin Gallagher reports.
Despite growing diplomatic tensions, the Canadian and Indian militaries will still cooperate at this defense conference in New Delhi.
It doesn't impact us. The Canadian chief is coming in here. His delegation is coming in here.
A major contrast to the Indian government urging its citizens to exercise caution when traveling to Canada, blaming anti-India activities and politically condoned hate crimes and criminal violence in Canada.
I think everyone knows Canada is a safe country, and given the events of the last 2 or 3 days and the seriousness of the allegations, that it's important for everyone to stay calm.
Between agents of the government of India.
On Monday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said there are credible allegations that link Indian agents to the killing of Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Today, the White House National Security Council denied reports it rebuffed Canada's concerns as they continue to engage with India. Australia also weighed in.
And I will confirm that we have raised our concerns with India. I'm not going to go into any further detail on that.
Neither ally has condemned the attack. The official opposition wants the government to make more information public.
We don't believe there's any reason to have secret briefings where those who attend those briefings have to keep those secrets.
It's not for members of parliament to demand that all the information be revealed and methods be compromised and a possible criminal investigation be compromised.
Well, the NDP is asking for the scope of the inquiry into foreign interference to clearly include India.
We don't need to add India into the inquiry because in the terms of reference, it talks about Russia, China, other state and non-state actors.
The public safety minister would not comment on the threat level to Sikhs in Canada as the RCMP continues to investigate Nijjar's murder. Kevin Gallagher, CTV News, Ottawa.
A place of worship, now a crime scene. A Buddhist temple in Mississauga targeted by thieves.
It is not the only one in our area at the center of a theft investigation. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live with more. Beth.
Nathan, this behind me is a Buddhist temple. It's also a home, and this robbery has really rattled the Buddhist monks who live and worship here, and they want the suspects caught.
First, they broke this window, and they went inside and unlocked all the doors.
The break-in at the West End Buddhist Temple and Meditation Center in Mississauga left rooms ransacked and more than $15,000 in cash and valuables stolen. The temple has been here for 30 years. Its spiritual leaders say nothing like this has ever happened.
It seems kind of unsafe. People are very concerned. And we offer meditation classes, and people come here for peace of mind. And now imagine somebody is meditating with this concern.
This Buddhist monk shared security video with CTV News from the day of the robbery, Saturday, September 9th. It shows a man poking around in the middle of the day. The monk believes once the man figures out no one is around, 2 other suspects show up and break the window. But that spot doesn't have a camera. Inside, the monk says they find cash put together for an upcoming conference, $5,400 gone, and other items.
The damaged doors, the damaged windows, iPhone was taken and the iPad was taken, stolen.
Good humor aside, the monk says he's aware of 15 break-ins at Buddhist temples in Ontario, stretching from Niagara east to throughout the GTA. Peel police say places of worship are often vulnerable because they have cash donations on site. They say while it's concerning to hear about other break-ins and are investigating this Mississauga one, whether religious artifacts are damaged or there is hateful vandalism is taken into consideration.
In the past month or so, I can recall 2 other instances of places of worship. They weren't Buddhist temples per se, but they were places of worship. And right now, there's no indication from our investigators that these are hate motivated.
Since the robbery, the monk says he sent an email to other temples warning them about break-ins.
And it seems this was happening since last June, throughout the summer. And now if they continue doing this kind of robberies, then I think as Buddhist communities, we feel very unsafe.
He says he wants governments and police agencies to take action. All 3 suspects in this case are described as men between 30 and 35 years of age. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Beth. Earning a degree or buying a home? That's the choice many college and university students are having to make.
It turns out Ontario graduates are delaying owning a home because of their student debt. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us in studio with more. Raheem.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, post-secondary education is not cheap, and a new report suggests if the provincial government doesn't make it easier to pay back those loans, Ontario's bright minds will be moving out of the province. As college and university students move forward in their post-secondary education, many are also hoping to take a step towards home ownership. But one thing seems to be standing in the way.
For this year alone, I owe I think $7,000 for tuition, so it's quite a bit.
Probably like $16,000.
The latest poll from the Ontario Real Estate Association finds student debt is a major barrier to buying a home for young people.
I definitely probably have to live with my parents for a couple of years. There's just no chance a home is in this climate. As of right now, just OSAP paid for this and then have to deal with that in the future.
According to the survey, 53% of graduates who have incurred education debt are still trying to repay that money. On average, that debt is more than $14,000, and 42% of graduates are considering leaving Ontario for a lower cost of living.
If we want that next generation of talent to work here, to be our next entrepreneurs, to build our new businesses, we need to solve this housing affordability crisis, and a big part for young people starts with student debt.
Ontario realtors are calling on the provincial government to make some changes to forgive debt. They want interest eliminated on all provincial student loans, a move the federal government already agreed to earlier this year. They want the grace period for OSAP loan repayments to be extended from 6 months to 1 year. And they want the provincial and federal governments to allow graduates to reduce their OSAP if they add money into Canada's first home savings account.
So they put $5,000 away for a down payment someday, knock $5,000 off their OSAT debt. That will be a big step forward.
And a step closer to owning a home. The survey also polled parents and found because of the high housing costs, nearly half of parents of the graduates say they plan to stay in their family home for the next decade. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. At the UN today, the Prime Minister touted Canada's environmental efforts and pledged to help other nations deal with climate change.
Canada has already committed to reduce by 2030 methane emissions from the oil and gas sector by at least 75% below 2012 levels. And today, I can announce that the draft regulations we will share soon will be designed to help us exceed this already ambitious target.
Justin Trudeau also announced his government will allocate an additional $700 million to the Poverty Reduction and Growth Trust. The fund assists developing countries combat global warming.
Ukraine's president also spoke today at a special meeting of the UN Security Council.
Regardless of who you are, the current UN system still makes you less influential than the veto power possessed by a few and misused by one, Russia. That is to the detriment of all other UN members.
Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of waging criminal and unprovoked aggression that undermines all norms of war and the UN Charter. The president also said action should be taken to prevent Moscow from using its veto at the Security Council.
France rolled out the red carpet today for King Charles. The monarch praised his host's wonderful welcome during a grand dinner at the Palace of Versailles. The king and his wife Camilla are beginning a 3-day visit intended to highlight the friendship between France and the UK. The trip was postponed in March amid widespread protests against French government pension changes.
Back here at home, when's the last time you passed through Pearson?
We know the airport has dealt with its fair share of turbulence in recent months. So how are passengers feeling now? CTV's Janice Golding has the results of a new survey.
While customer satisfaction is trending upward at North American airports this year, it has dropped at Toronto Pearson International Airport, according to a new survey of more than 27,000 travelers. The J.D. Power 2023 North America Airport Satisfaction Study found that among 21 mega airports, those seeing more than 33 million passengers a year, Pearson now sits second from the bottom in 20th place. That's down from last year, where it ranked in the bottom 5.
This airport is terrible. It's not the airport itself, it's this terminal is terrible. If you arrive after 7 p.m., there is nobody from Air Canada can help you.
A little confusing.
Should be better, but we don't have any issues here.
While some travelers we spoke to today say the customer experience could improve, others expressed some surprise about their survey.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it does. I would say 7 out of 10.
Absolutely no problems.
Till now, it's going smooth and easy.
I haven't had too many problems, really.
Today, Toronto Pearson expressed its disappointment with the results, saying the GTAA has been working non-stop with airlines, agencies, and other partners to improve and streamline the passenger experience since last year's restart. It also pointed CTV to recent research from a Polaris survey of more than 2,000 adults, which found that 4 times more Canadians feel more positive than negative toward Pearson, and 75% of travelers who traveled through Pearson in the last year reported being satisfied with their experience. J.D. Power's travel intelligence leader explained the results at Pearson, saying there's an inverse correlation between the number of passengers that access an airport and their satisfaction while they're at the airport, adding that the influx of passengers at Pearson between 2022 and 2023 contributed to the airport's low score. Now in its 18th year, the survey looked at 6 factors: terminal facilities, airport arrival departure, baggage claim, security check, check-in baggage check, and food, beverage, and retail. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Coming up, it's a time of renewed hope as the Toronto Maple Leafs gather for training camp. An all-new season, new players, and new attitude. What some of the biggest stars had to say before they hit the ice.
And I'm Pat Foran, coming up on Consumer Alert. If you have to hire a contractor, be careful. An Oakville woman says her garage door opener quit and a company said they could fix it for $300. But instead they replaced it and charged her almost $3,000. Now they're nowhere to be found. I'll have my reports just ahead.
It was a chilly start to the day this morning, just slightly below freezing in Algonquin Park, close to 1 degree in places like Bancroft, Muskoka, and Peterborough. It's going to be cool in some of those areas again. For example, 0 tonight in Bancroft. Just about everyone, though, a couple of degrees warmer, including us in the city of Toronto. Double digits overnight for the next couple of nights here. We're going to take you through the forecast, including how long this sunny stretch is going to last, coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
If you have a house, you know they need maintenance from time to time, and you may have to hire a contractor to help you out with certain projects.
When choosing someone to work in your home, you have to be careful to get the job done right at a fair price. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, an Oakville woman needed help when her garage door opener quit working. She found a company that said they could repair it for $300. But she was shocked when the job was done and they demanded almost $3,000 instead. Marie Nelson of Oakville says it was in June when her garage door opener quit working. The senior says she wanted it repaired right away because she was having other work done at her home.
I was in a bit of a panic because they were coming to do my driveway, and they were coming the next day, and they asked if I had my garage door open, but it wouldn't open.
Nelson went on Google and searched garage door opener repair. One company that claimed to be in Oakville said they could come that day and do the repair for about $300. But when a contractor arrived, he replaced the garage door opener with a new one and presented her with a much larger bill.
He charged me $3,000, and I was totally shocked.
Nelson said he had a payment machine and demanded she pay with her credit card right away.
He was scaring me. He was scaring me.
And she was not given an invoice or contract to break down the cost of labor or the opener.
No itemized statement whatsoever.
The contractor who installed the new door opener placed a sticker in her garage indicating their business is called Lux Service, and their website, luxgaragedoors.ca, says they're located in Vaughan. CTV News contacted the company with several emails and phone calls. A senior says she was charged almost $3,000 to install a garage door opener. Our calls and emails were not returned. We went to the company address listed on the website and were unable to locate the business. According to Consumer Protection Ontario, when hiring a home service contractor, seek recommendations from family and friends, deal with a local company, confirm the cost of work before it begins, and ask for an itemized contract or invoice. Nelson still wants a refund, but the company is nowhere to be found.
I'd like a reasonable refund. I don't want this to happen to others, but I would like a refund because I think he really, really overcharged me.
And a basic garage door opener installed will cost around $600 and be more or less depending on your home, but it shouldn't cost $3,000. If you're getting one, make sure you know the total price before allowing work to begin. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Back to the forecast, and really no complaints. Just nice weather, comfortable. Even at nighttime, it's cool, but not really cooling down.
It's been a great week, and there's so much more of this beautiful weather to come right as we head towards the weekend and into the weekend.
And we've talked about the warmth during the afternoons especially. We've talked about the sunny stretch. What we haven't talked a whole lot about is the fact that it's been dry for a week. I mean, in a summer that we had with so many days with at least a little bit of rain, this has been a change, and it looks like we've got a few more dry days ahead. Some parts of Ontario could get into a few showers before the weekend, and then for us here in the GTA, it's the end of the weekend where we might need the umbrella once more. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Some areas overnight tonight are once again going to be dealing with a little bit of fog and potentially a little bit of frost. Tonight, the frost advisory includes areas like Lindsay, Bracebridge, Gravenhurst, into the Huntsville area, over into Barry's Bay as well. It no longer includes northern Durham region, so that's good news, moving away from the GTA, where it is going to be a little bit warmer overnight tonight. Let me show you on the satellite and radar where we do have a couple of sprinkles of rain, nothing major at this point, just making its way off of Lake Huron. There's a little bit of associated cloud cover too, but for the most part, we are dry. We enjoyed a beautiful blue sky day today here in the GTA. All thanks to high pressure. Now tomorrow, it is possible that we will see a little more in the way of cloud. I think some variable cloudiness possible in the morning. There we see a chance of a shower, but again, I do think most areas will remain dry. In the afternoon, areas to our west have a decent chance of seeing a couple of sprinkles of rain. But again, for us, it's another mix of sun and cloud type of day. Friday, we get into even further clearing. Blue sky expected into the afternoon. Things do change a little bit over the weekend, and we'll talk about that in your 7-day forecast momentarily. We've cooled a degree. It is now 18 here in the city. Very comfortable conditions just about everywhere. Still in the 20s in Sault Ste. Marie and Timmins. Overnight tonight, we will likely remain in double-digit territory. 10 for the low. Tomorrow's high, 23 degrees. So we're trending these days a couple of degrees warmer than normal. Seasonal average is 20. Here is the 7-day forecast. So again, the next couple of days continue to look look quite nice. We officially welcome fall very early on Saturday morning. Saturday itself might bring us a bit of an increase in cloud. It's Sunday where we've got our next best chance of a few showers. Monday's looking a little bit drier than it did even just yesterday, but an increase in cloud expected for Tuesday and Wednesday with temperatures in the teens. That's your look at the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Exciting news for Maple Leaf fans. We're getting an idea of what this year's roster will look like.
The team's first on-ice training session gets underway tomorrow, but tonight we're hearing from some of the players. Here's CTV's Sean Lathong.
Meeting with the media ahead of training camp, Leafs players are talking all things new. A new season, new players, and with that, a new attitude.
All guys we added are great. I'll bring a lot of kind of piss and vinegar, or snot, I guess everyone's been saying.
Here's Riley. He scores!
After winning a playoff series for the first time in 19 years, the Leafs would then lose in 5 games to the Florida Panthers in a series where the team at times was pushed around. Enter gritty and talented players like Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, and Ryan Reeves.
I mean, it never hurts to have a little extra muscle in your lineup, so.
The new players come courtesy of new general manager Brad Treliving, who says the shift in attitude is the beginning of creating a new identity.
The one thing I would take away from what I've seen in the time I've spent with these players over the summer, this is a driven group. It's a serious group.
One change announced today is that William Nylander will move over from the right wing to start training camp playing center.
He was drafted as a center. He played center with the Marlies in the minor leagues when Sheldon Keefe was his coach there. But this is a major development. If he can become a center, that's going to help the team's depth down the middle because they have John Tavares and Austin Matthews there.
And with an entire season ahead of them, Captain John Tavares says the goal remains the same.
You want to lift that trophy over your head. And I think when I came here, I saw the potential and had the belief that it was going to be a contending team for a very, very long time. And I still believe that.
The first chance fans will get to assess this new group will come this Sunday when the Leafs open their preseason against the Ottawa Senators. Opening night for the regular season, October 11th. Sean Lathong, CTV News.
Meanwhile, there's big news for Argos fans. Pinball isn't going anywhere. The Double Blue has signed their general manager to a contract extension. The length of the deal was not disclosed, but the team says its future is very bright, with Michael Clemens leading the way. Under Pinball, the Boatmen have won a Grey Cup and 3 straight division titles. They're 11-1 this season.
Also tonight, bringing a Canadian icon to life through art. We step into the studio with the artist chosen to immortalize Lincoln Alexander, a sculptor whose connection to the late trailblazer is the ultimate tribute.
When the decision was made to create a sculpture of the late Lincoln Alexander to be put on display in the Ontario legislature, the call went out for artist submissions.
The person who got the job has a special connection in ways the man himself could not have imagined as a child. CTV's Andrea Case joins us now with more on that story. Andrea.
Good evening, Nathan. Michelle, quick congratulations to Michelle. She's celebrating 10 or 11 years on the anchor desk. Okay, moving on. September 20th is a historic day in the life of the Honorable Lincoln Alexander. In 1968, he made his maiden speech in the House of Commons as the first Black MP and was sworn in as Lieutenant Governor of Ontario in 1985. Out of a number of submissions, award-winning Toronto artist Quentin Versetti was chosen to create a sculpture of Lincoln M. Alexander. When Versetti was a high school student, the former lieutenant governor was a Black History Month Assembly special guest at the Hamilton School bearing his name. That event had a great impact on Versetti's life.
He just had a huge presence, and we were just like, who is that? He came in a sharp suit. I remember it was navy blue. Navy blue is one of my favorite colors, and it was just like, I remember that pants seam was so precisely pressed. It felt like it was cut in the air, and I was just like, really, it's inspired by this man who just had a presence and walked with pride. And he walked right up to me, and he's like, I see great things for you. And I was like, who is this guy? And it wasn't until after he left, or after the assembly, that they're like, this is who the school's named after, Lincoln M. Alexander. That was Lincoln M. Alexander. And I was like, whoa, okay. A troubled teen who saw some of his peers die at a young age, Versetti would eventually be expelled, but art always brought him comfort. First it was for therapy, to help heal some of the wounds that I was experiencing as a young person growing up in a rough neighborhood and losing a lot of my friends and just making sense of the world around me. And so it became a therapeutic output. And then I realized it was actually helping other people to heal.
Studying art here and in Venice, his passion went from healing himself to healing his community. Funding the commemorative bust project is the Black Opportunity Fund.
It will be on permanent display and said, visibility is possibility, and what you can see, you can be. So what we're looking at is changing the narrative and what are the opportunities available for not just Black youth, but for all Canadians.
The finished Link Bus project will be unveiled on January 21st, 2024, on what would have been his 102nd birthday, and will also be part of all future tours given at the legislature. For CTV News, I'm Andrea Case. Happy birthday tomorrow, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. Well, after decades of working with Pat Sajak, Wheel of Fortune viewers will soon get to see Vanna White alongside a different host.
Of Wheel is just around the corner.
That's right, Vanna. And here's a
Wheel of Fortune just kicked off its 41st season, considered the farewell season for Sajak. But Variety reports Vanna White has extended her contract by another 2 years into the year 2025-26. That means she'll be back revealing letters as hosting duties switch over to Ryan Seacrest next season. He says he can't wait to work with her.
Sometimes when bands take a break, they never come back. But it looks like BTS fans won't have to worry. The K-pop band hasn't been active recently while members carry out mandatory military service in South Korea. But today, Rolling Stone reported all 7 members of BTS will re-up their contracts with their record label. Group activities still aren't expected until 2025.
Taylor Swift fans have a reputation for solving riddles from the pop star, and she put those skills to the test as she promotes an upcoming album release.
Oh, look, you did it. You unlocked the 1989 Taylor's version vault.
The singer teamed up with Google to post a secret word puzzle game, and Swifties solved more than 35 million rounds over the last day. That unlocked a preview of bonus tracks on 1989 Taylor's version. Swift soon released the full song list for the re-recorded album, which is out October 27th.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
How many PC cabinet ministers have to resign in disgrace before the premier accepts responsibility and accountability?
Updating our top stories, Kaleed Rasheed, Ontario's Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery, has resigned amid contradicting reports of a trip to Las Vegas. The trip was investigated by Ontario's Integrity Commissioner as part of the inquiry into the Ford government's Greenbelt development plans.
There were dueling demonstrations outside Queen's Park today. Protesters calling for the elimination of sexual orientation and gender identity curriculum in Canada gathered as part of a nationwide rally called the 1 Million March for Children. They were met by counter-demonstrators who say the rally promotes anti-LGBTQ2S+ rhetoric.
As Buddhist communities, we feel very unsafe.
Police are searching for suspects following a robbery at a Buddhist temple in Mississauga. More than $15,000 in cash and valuables were stolen on Saturday, September 9th. And it's the latest in a series of break-ins at temples in the GTA, though police have not confirmed a link between all the incidents.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is down almost 1/5 of a cent to 74.23 US. American benchmark oil falling 82 cents, closing at 89.66 US a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index losing 420, ending the day at 20,214.
Some good news for drivers filling up their gas tanks today. Dan McTeague, the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy, says prices fell 8 cents overnight. That puts the price at $1.62.9 per liter on average at most GTA stations. McTeague says this drop is due to a shift from summer to winter blends of gasoline. This is the lowest price we've seen since July 19th.
Tonight, a turbulent new turn for the relationship between Canada and India. New Delhi issues a travel advisory as the diplomatic rift deepens. What it means for tourists and international students. That story and more later on CTV National News.
To Greece now, where a zoo east of the capital is celebrating a very special delivery. A rare red panda is making its public debut after being born at the zoo 2 months ago. The small tree-dwelling mammals are native to the Himalayas and southwestern China, but they're not closely related to the better-known giant panda. Experts say red pandas face a very high risk of extinction because of habitat loss. So that makes births like this all the more important. Aren't they cute?
They are. The Toronto Zoo has some red pandas, and if you're lucky to go and see one, it's really something.
Oh, awesome. Well, and if you're lucky enough to go out and enjoy the sunset tonight, you might catch a good one again. It's been a nice week overall, and waking up tomorrow, we will have more sunshine mixed with cloud. It's not going to be quite as chilly as it was this morning. Hey, tomorrow looks like another picture-perfect day to do some apple picking. Daytime high 23 degrees. A reminder, fall arrives this weekend. I know it really does kind of feel like summer, doesn't it? 7-day forecast looks like this. The season ending on a real sunny stretch. And then as if right on cue, we're going to start to cool down and have a few showers in the forecast on Sunday. And a reminder about the new Lotto 649 with 2 big jackpots to be won on 1 ticket. Tonight's classic jackpot is $5 million, and the new gold ball jackpot is $64 million. You can head to olg.ca for more information. Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, that's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.